On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Choose to Think podcast, and today we have a special Clubhouse edition. We're going to talk about the thinker mindset, and this episode is inspired by a book written by Dr. Caroline Leaf called Think, Learn, Succeed. So you'll be hearing me share a few things from the chapter she has about the thinker mindset. Well, you're wondering, what on earth is a thinker mindset, and do I have it? Okay, let me tell you. A thinker mindset basically is when you are alone with your thoughts and you are a human being versus a human doing. It really represents internal thinking, that privilege that you allow yourself for your mind to wander, to do some creative thinking, and to simply daydream. Now, you're saying, what? This is a good thing for me? Yes. According to the research that Dr. Leaf has done, matter of fact, you can read that chapter. She gives all kinds of statistics and case studies and scientific research behind her teaching. And there are so many benefits, literal physical benefits, to adopting this thinker mindset. Some of them include the thinker mindset will help you prevent dementia, several different types of dementias. It will increase your intelligence, provide awareness, and deep insight. She recommends that you engage in literally thinking, but by yourself, just allowing your mind to wander and to maybe think creatively or even just daydream, to kind of drift off. She recommends that you do this for about 16 minutes a day. It's especially helpful if you're feeling stuck in any area of your life. Some people say, I can't do that. I can't possibly do that. Matter of fact, she even lists a study where folks felt very uncomfortable doing that because we have kind of trained ourselves in this day and age to absolutely be browsing and just flowing through things and aimlessly scrolling, say through social media, where we're just kind of dumbing down ourselves and not really engaged at all, just kind of like flipping through things. And so she warns about the danger of doing that, and she cites folks who feel very uncomfortable just sitting still and actually thinking or analyzing or allowing their minds to wander. So if that's you in particular, or if you feel stuck, like if you were to stop everything you were doing, just like cold turkey, you stopped right now, and you sat down, or maybe you're riding shotgun in the car or sitting at the library or outside on a park bench, whatever you may be doing outside on your deck, and you just say, okay, I'm just going to stop and think for a moment and allow my mind to wander. And if you have difficulty doing that, if you feel like when you do that, it's very uncomfortable, or you start pulling up thoughts of, that maybe you don't want to engage in, that perhaps are toxic or unhealthy, or you're ruminating over something someone said to you and you're just rolling it over and over again, this is where Dr. Leaf would recommend that you start writing your thoughts down and actually recognizing what you're thinking about. And this is really one of the steps in the 7-step technique that I use for mind renewal. The first one is recognizing what you're thinking about. Step number 2 would be to reject or resist the lies that you may be engaging or believing. And that's where some of those ruminating type thoughts might come in, where you're just stuck on, you keep replaying that comment, that hurtful comment someone said, or you may keep replaying something that you said that was hurtful, and you're not really forgiving yourself in the process either. So we have to resist those kinds of thoughts. We have to actively reject and resist those thoughts. Step 3 in the process that I teach would be to replace those thoughts with something that's truthful. truth filled, like God's scripture, His word, what He says about you, about your situation, and what He says about Himself. And often that's enough to train our brains and our minds to pivot out of that rumination or those toxic thought loops. After that, you kind of have to repeat this over and over and over again, especially if you're stuck in some of those toxic negative feedback loops in your brain. You're going to have to train your brain out of it, so to speak, and you do that by replacing it with those toxic thoughts with truthful ones. And then you repeat, and suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, I'm changing, I'm transformed, because you literally can change your brain. Your brain is neuroplastic, and what you think matters to your gray matter. And so after you do that, you're going to say, my mind is renewed. I'm sensing that, I'm feeling that, I'm recognizing that I don't stay stuck in that negative thought loop anymore. And then you might be able to begin this process of thinking and letting your mind wander in a way that's a little bit more relaxed for you. And the final two steps of the technique that I teach and coach about would be, we have to rely on the Lord in all of these things. He is an integral part of this process and of what we're doing. And we need Him. We need His truth, His perspective in this, the Spirit's guidance as we do this, and as we're trying to daily reboot our brains, and as we're trying to take mental self-care, establish those regimens in our own lives. We need Him to be a part of that. And then finally, we rest, knowing that He will do all of the work, and there's peace and joy to be found there. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the 7 R's that I teach on taking thoughts captive. But let me welcome Rebecca to the room. She's like my favorite person to come over here on Clubhouse and chat with us, adding value and contributing takeaways and stories that I know you will find helpful. But Rebecca, welcome to the room, and tell me what you've been learning about the thinker mindset.
Well, thank you for for asking me to be part of this, because I always appreciate the time that you put into creating this room for everyone to gain something, some sort of personal development for their life. I told you I was going to Google thinker mindset, and I thought, no, I'm not. I'm just going to wait and listen to you, and then see what God's nudging me to talk about. And it's really interesting, because that's one thing that I talk with my clients on, is when they get caught up in either a hamster wheel effect of going over and over and over in their mind about something that occurred, about something that was said, whether it was by someone else or themselves, and how they can stop it. And it's sometimes so easy to say, but I will say this: if you are proactive in planning, creating a new habit to change that from happening, when it does happen, that instinct will kick in. Because don't you find it hard, or situations where somebody will say something and it catches you off guard, and later you think, oh, I wish I had said da 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 da. Well, I believe that was Valerie Burton who coined that as afterwit. It's your thinking after the thought, and oh, you wish you had said that. And so my month of August is really going to be on habits in many different areas. And I started thinking about what you were saying, and the best way that we can help ourselves to not get caught up either in negative thinking, or not even wanting to look at ourselves. Okay, I'm going to pause here, because there's a couple of things you talked about, that, and then also people that resist even just thinking about their own life, thinking about, where am I in my life? What does my day look like? Because it's hard for them to do. So please forgive me for jumping there, because I'm trying not to do that.
Oh gosh, no, it's okay. But the truth is that I can even be that way, Rebecca. Sometimes I I feel like I don't slow down because I'm always on this go, 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 go mode. Now, I have trained my mind and my brain to do my daily devotionals. That's my quiet time with the Lord. I try to listen in my spirit and jot down my prayers and maybe what the Lord might be saying to me for that day. And I'll tell you that even alone was a discipline that I really had to work hard to adopt because it was hard for me. What I would find myself doing is thinking, okay, what do I have to do today? What's next? Oh yeah, I need to go run by Kroger. And oh yeah, I've got that 2:00 appointment. And what did my mom tell me about this situation? I mean, that's what my mind is actually doing. It's like bing, 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 bing. And so it was hard for me also to just deliberately stop, settle my mind, invite the Lord in and just say, I'm going to take this mental break from all the stuff that's going on in my life right now and slow down and just allow my brain to have a little bit of a break and a rest. Now, there are other times, as Dr. Leaf explains in this chapter about the thinker mindset, that some people are so uncomfortable doing this because what starts happening is instead of mind wandering or daydreaming or just being creative with their thoughts, instead of doing that, which is really the objective here, they start thinking of all these mistakes they've made or things people have done to them or replaying scenarios like you mentioned a moment ago, like why did I do that? Why did I say that? Or why did he say that? Why did she do that? And we go off on those tangents instead. And the remedy that Caroline Leaf offers, if that's you, is to hold up. You got to start thinking about what you are thinking about, because if you're caught in negative thought, these negative feedback loops in your brain to where this one thought automatically dominoes into the next thought, which goes to the next thought, to the next thought. Before you know it, it's a runaway train. And it's this same runaway train that you get on every day. That's where the problem is. That's where you're getting stuck in that. So there's a remedy for that. And that's when I actually went into the 7 steps that I teach and that I coach about. And she would also say, hey, recognizing what you're thinking about. And she would say, write it down. And that's what I would say as well. I had to journal all of those thoughts so that I could get off that runaway train and instead allow for a different type of peace and mind rest that I really needed. So does this kind of make sense here, Rebecca?
You always make sense.
Oh, I don't know.
You always do. And just what came to my mind while you were speaking was, this is why I feel for myself and also for my clients or anyone that I'm visiting with, that a morning routine is so important, because that is your time of day to journal, to meditate, to pray, to read, and get right with the Lord on your intention for the day and listen to what He's going to say. But that's also when my mind really thinks through what I have going on and how I want it to be, how I want the day to be. That, honestly, is what kept me sane when my husband had his knee replaced, my mother-in-law, who has dementia, and my father-in-law, they were in the hospital. I was having to care for everyone. And my mother-in-law, who I called mom and dad, did not understand what was going on, or that I even had their best interest at heart. I mean, many things that, yes, I cried, but I would stop and think, okay, it's all right, because I knew this was a possibility. And so instead of the day controlling me, I felt like I was being more proactive instead of reactive.
Becky, I'm so happy that you've come into the room. Well, how are you doing?
Just fabulous. We just stay so busy that I think you're right. I do need to take more time for myself in the morning. But we're remodeling a house, and we have a lot of commercial property that we kind of watch after. And it just seems like we're going and going. And I do have a mother-in-law in the nursing home right here. And now they just opened back up, so I have a lot of responsibilities like catching up with her clothing and things. Just getting to know her in person again is so nice. Anyway, so I'm here.
Very good. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. We were just chatting about some of the actual benefits of developing and fostering this thinker mindset. And in a way, it's just giving us a little bit of a vacation, a mental respite or vacation during the day that can be vitally important, especially for all the things that you've just listed and Rebecca has listed, and the busyness of our lives. And it doesn't have to come in the morning. It can even come later in the day when we just say, you know what, I'm going to just rest my brain for a little bit, and maybe I'm going to think creatively or daydream about my next vacation or hiking in the woods, something very simple that allows the dust to settle in our brains and just allows us to slow down. And the benefits of this, apparently, if we do this over and over and over again, if we foster this and if we become characterized by allowing ourselves to really think, to be alone with our thoughts, to do that internal thinking and be a human being, not a human doing, then we can actually prevent dementias. We can increase intelligence. We can have heightened awareness and insight into all sorts of issues that we may be facing. So there are scientific evidences and studies and research that would support how healthy this is to have as a part of our daily routine and mental self-care regimen. So it's so awesome. She also talks in this chapter about the damaging influences of social media and how we're so connected nowadays, but we feel so isolated. And so she goes in a little bit to the way we're training ourselves to actually, quote, think or be quiet. What we're really doing when we're just mindlessly scrolling through social media or, bumping around, reacting, not really responding, or maybe the first thing we do in the morning is answer a gazillion emails or messages that we get. And essentially what we're doing is allowing other people to control what we do right when we first get up. We're in this this reactive mode, not a responsive mode. And so sometimes we think I'm being quiet when we're just scrolling through media, but really that has a harmful impact. So the encouragement she had there was put down the phone. Get disconnected. Disconnect yourself from any device and all of these this stimuli that is just bombarding us. Stop that and learn how to think, to sit quietly. Allow your brain to reboot. So do you all is that something that, do you have any tips on how to do that? Is it just like we've said, just be deliberate about putting that in our day? Or does it even sound appealing to you? Some people might be doing eye rolls right now, like, yeah, no thanks. I'm not creative anyway, or I don't desire to do that anyway. Any thoughts on any of this? Do you think there's some benefit here?
I'll tell you that for anyone who says, oh my gosh, I can't do that, I would challenge them to try it. Take a baby step and just try it. Try when you get up in the morning to reserve even just 10 minutes or 5 minutes to think about a situation or your day or yourself and what you really want to be the truth with that and how it can look differently. And I know because I did it when my kids were little, and then I didn't have a time in the morning for years until I realized if I want to rise up in my own life, in my own thinking, then this is something that is so important to do, because when you spend that time, when you are giving yourself that time, it's like you're respecting who you are as a person and who you want to be as a person. And the more you can love yourself, the more you can take control over these emotions. Not that it's going to just happen, because trust me, I was on a group coaching call with my coach on Tuesday, and those same limiting beliefs are that, oh, I don't think I can do that, still pop up. But it's always when you are going to get out of your comfort zone and you stop the busyness. Because what I would ask is, how is the busyness serving you, so that you can then serve others in your own life?
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate it.
And Becky, do you have any final thoughts? I have this little poem that I'm going to read that actually Dr. Leaf included in her chapter, which kind of hits home to the heart. But I want to make sure before we close out, I want to see if you have any other comments or feedback. And I also would love to know how everyone can support you or connect with you.
Well, I'm going to say, if you don't mind, I was working this morning at a decluttering kind of situation, which is another part of your life right now. And just being down there and not having anything going on, no music, no podcasts, no nothing. And as I was getting things accomplished, it was a wonderful thing, a time to sort things out and feel better about things that are getting done as I was, getting things put together nice.
Yeah, that is such a good analogy. And I had not kind of connected the dots on that either, but that act of decluttering our homes, our, each room, our closets, and just cleaning out and clearing out allows us to kind of just rest and breathe again. And that's essentially what we're doing when we allow ourselves to our minds to wander and just to be creative. It gives our brain that respite that it needs to kind of, rev up and go at it again. So essentially we can declutter those thoughts that are bombarding us, get rid of those ones that are not helpful or fruitful or beneficial to us, and lay them to rest. Get rid of them because they're not serving us. And instead then just to engage and put energy and effort into the thoughts that are true and healthy and lead us in an emotionally stable and much healthier direction. So what a great analogy there. Thank you for sharing that. Listen, I really appreciate your showing up and coming in here to the room today and just chiming in. And I'm going to close us out with this particular poem, which kind of epitomizes why the thinker mindset, adopting it, fostering it, allowing it to develop in your life and become a part of your routine for self-management is so important. And the poem is called Leisure, and it was written by William Davies, and it says this: what is this life if, full of care, we have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows, no time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass, no time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night, no time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance, no time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this if, full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. It is so important that we all have cares, we have worries, we have burdens, we have so many things we face in life, but that task of stopping and just saying, you know what, I'm going to enjoy this moment. I'm not going to get so fixated on all my cares and concerns that it robs me of my joy the rest of my day, or that it's overwhelming me or bogging me down. when we develop this thinker mindset, it also allows us to really appreciate the moments that we do have with those people we love and with all the blessings that God has given us. And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. Thank you so much for tuning in. And say, if you like what you hear, please consider sharing this link to the show with a friend or a family member who you think might be encouraged by the inspiring and hope-filled messages that I try to put out every single week. So thank you so much for your support. And until next time, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.